If you saw my last video and thought I went a little bit too fast, I actually agree with you. So here is a longer and much more thorough version of 41 tips for Midjourney beginners. Tip number 1. When you're trying to recreate an image, make sure you use the image weight parameter and use a value of 3. Here we have this picture of Kylo Ren, and if I wanted to recreate this inside of Midjourney, we're going to include it as an image prompt and include --IW and then a value of 3 at the end of our prompt. To image prompt on Discord, you're going to hit this little plus button beside the message box. We would go to upload file, and then you're going to find the picture you want to recreate on your computer. Once you see the file here, make sure you hit enter. That will send it in the chat. Now what you want to do is start a prompt, and then we're going to click on our image and drag it into the prompt box. If we try to run this prompt right now, it's going to tell us it's not going to work because we can't use just one picture. We actually have to add either another picture or some text. So this is where we're going to describe our picture a little bit. I'm going to write a Star Wars villain with a red lightsaber. Super simple. But at the end of the prompt, I'm going to write --IW. I'll leave a space and then I'll put a value of 3. I'm also going to specify an aspect ratio that matches our original picture. --IW stands for image weight, and previously we could only use a value of 2. Recently in version 6, we've been able to use a value of 3, and these are the results. This is a pretty amazing way of recreating an image. But I have to warn you, this is pretty close to plagiarism, so please have some discretion and respect for other artists. Tip number 2. If you want to quickly combine images but don't want to add words to your prompt, you can use the /blend feature. On Discord, you would type /blend into the prompt box. Down here beside the prompt box, you can click on +4 more to then add images 3, 4, and 5. And you can specify the dimensions here as well. You'll then click on these boxes to upload individual pictures. What do you think these are gonna make? And when we hit enter, Midjourney is going to blend your images together without needing to add extra words in your prompt. And look at these, those are unreal. You can have a lot of fun with the blend feature. Tip number 3, to generate for an exact color, use that color as a character reference. Character reference is the newest Midjourney feature as of this moment. It allows you to add an image link that specifies the type of character you want to see. Traditionally, this would be used for a person's face, but you can also use it for color and have that exact color show up in your generation. So if I prompted for something simple like a blue dress, and then I added --CREF to signify the character reference parameter, and then I included an image link of a specific color. In this case, I have a turquoise color saved as a shortcut. --Turk is going to expand into this specific color. And then there you go, we have a turquoise dress. You can use this for any color, even gradients, and even textures. Character reference can be used for a lot of things. Let me know if you found any use cases that I didn't know about. And if you're new here, my name is Nolan. I'm trying my best to make learning AI as straightforward as possible. If you've learned something new so far, could you please hit the like button on this video? I'm trying to share it with as many people as possible, and I need your help with that. Tip number 4, use emojis in your prompt. In fact, this is one way to get super unique images. Why does this work? I don't really know, but if you input emojis in your prompt, it's not going to create images of those emojis. It's going to do something a little weird. Let me show you. So in our prompt box, if we go over here on the right and click on this little emoji button, we can scroll down and start searching for emojis. Like, let's take this picture of a crying cat, or maybe this is a joyful cat. If we hit enter, I'm not guaranteeing that a cat will show up. In fact, I'm really not sure if it will at all. Okay, yes, we get a cat in 2, 3, and 4, but not number 1. And number 2 is a very unique picture to say the least, and all we had to do was put that one emoji in our prompt. As a matter of fact, you can combine emojis for even more unique and random images. Let's combine a fairy. Let's try this rotating light. I guess that's a police siren. And let's try... let's try a ninja. What do you think these are going to create? Pretty random indeed. Maybe you'll find some fun with this. Tip number 5, write your prompts using permutations to save yourself some time. This is going to cost you some of your fast hours though. Basically, what a permutation allows you to do is to write more than one prompt at once so that you don't have to write the prompts over and over again. Like here, I knew I wanted to see Clifford the big yellow dog, the big green dog, and the big blue dog. But I didn't want to have to write those one after the other, So what you can do is write each of the changes inside of squiggly brackets. I don't know what the correct term for those squiggly brackets are, but that's what I'm going to refer to them as. And you're going to separate each change with a comma. When we hit enter, it's going to ask us if we're sure that we want to generate those 3 prompts. We can click on show prompts, and you'll see that we're creating Clifford the big yellow dog, the green dog, and the blue dog. Again, that's just a way to save time so you didn't have to write those 3 prompts out one after the other. You'll want to use permutations when you know what you're looking for, and when you know you're going to be writing these prompts anyways. You can just write them all at once, and trust me, this is going to save you time in the long run. There's the green dog, the blue one, and the yellow. Those are pretty cool. Tip number 6, earn some free fast hours from Midjourney by rating images on the Midjourney website. Over on the Midjourney website, midjourney.com, you'll see this little thumbs up button on the left side. This is going to provide you with 2 images, and all you have to do is choose which one you like more. This is going to help the bot learn our preferences, and in exchange for that information, Midjourney is going to reward you with 1 free fast hour if you're in the top 2,000 people who rate images over a single day. I'll choose Godzilla here, and then something like this might be a little more difficult when the prompts are the same. Midjourney is trying to find out which of these you like more. It's a tough choice. I'm gonna go with the left side here. And I think I like this pin. Tip number 7, use /info on Discord to see how many prompts you have ran in your lifetime. Type /info, hit enter, and it's going to bring up all of your information. I have now ran 58,917 prompts because recently I've been working on my Midjourney Advanced course. I have a lot of fun stuff coming up. It's taking a lot of time, it takes a lot of work. In the meantime, if you're looking for a more structured guide to Midjourney, you can check out my Midjourney beginner course. The link will be in the description below. You can check out the curriculum and all the extra benefits you get as well. And I just wanted to point out, because you get 4 images per prompt, I've actually created and seen 235,668 different Midjourney pictures. I've seen a lot. I'd love to help you out and teach you everything I've learned along the way. Check out the course in the description below. Tip number 8, the best way to explore what a prompt really has to offer is to combine the repeat parameter with a little bit of chaos. Let's try something like this. Mecha anime animal, vibrant energy convulsion. I don't really know what this is going to create, but if you run this prompt once, you're really only seeing 1 instance out of 4 billion. Now, what I'm suggesting isn't going to change that very much, but it will help you understand that prompt a little bit more. We're going to add a little bit of chaos, --C space, and then a very low value. I'm talking like 2 or 3 tops. And then we're going to type --repeat space and then a number. Not a very high number. I think maybe 30 is the most you can go. Not really sure about that. The limit is 40. I'm going to go with repeat 4. This is sort of similar to a permutation. It's going to ask you if you really want to generate those 4 prompts. So if you ran the prompt once, this is what you would find. Pretty cool. But what else does this prompt create? Well, it can make something like this. I'm a big fan of number 1 and number 3. Or maybe it'll create something like these. Again, I like number 1, number 2 is pretty cool, and number 4, I kind of like those colors. But you also might get a generation like this. Again, this is how you explore a prompt to its fullest. Not all 4 billion possibilities, but just a handful to really give you a taste. Tip number 9, this is an organization tip. You can use smart folders on the Midjourney website for a fast way of keeping track of your pictures. To access your gallery on the website, you can click on this little image icon on the left side. And then on the right, we're going to want to click on this folders tab, and we're going to want to create a folder. You can call it whatever you want. Why don't I try sunset? Now we want to make sure we click on smart folder. Here is where we can type in specific prompting terms. Midjourney is going to find all of the times we use those words in a prompt, and it's going to fill this folder with those pictures. Pretty crazy stuff. So I'm going to type sunset. As simple as that. You can obviously add as many words as you want to organize. And when I hit create folder, I can then click on the sunset folder, and it's going to have every image I've ever made with that word sunset. Look how cool this is. Tip number 10, this is a basic prompting tip. I want you to start small and then elaborate after. Like here, I started with the most simple idea, a duck. I just wanted to see what Midjourney would create. But what I really had in mind was a duck wearing a neon jacket. So again, I prompt for that and I see what Midjourney creates. When you see the result, your mind will start to fill in what else you were expecting to see. And then we're just gonna write those expectations into the prompt. A duck wearing a neon jacket, singing on stage at a music festival. This is really what I was going for the entire time. You could obviously start with prompts like this, but I think my advice is to start small and then continue to add what you want to see into the prompt. Tip number 11, use vary region to replace any character in any scene. Vary by region is also known as inpainting, so that's kind of what we're going to be doing. We're going to take our image and we're going to paint inside of it in order to replace what's already there. So why don't we take this duck and we're going to click on vary by region. Now you can either select with the rectangle tool, or you can get really specific with the lasso tool, and you could try to finesse it and select all around the duck. I don't know how necessary that is, so let's just make sure we have the duck covered, and then we're going to go down into our prompt box and we're going to replace the duck with a different character. Let's try Shrek and see what it comes up with. Oh yeah, take a look at these. I like number 1 a lot. Tip number 12, in my humble opinion, Memphis Pattern is the best prompt ever. All you need to do is add in some descriptive words to really nudge the direction of the generation, like a cool 1980s blue Memphis pattern. And we get something like these. Look at number 4. That is so awesome. I don't know if you like these as much as I do, but those just speak to me. I love the vibe. Tip number 13, don't forget about Niji Journey. N-I-J-I. Niji is a Midjourney model specifically trained on anime, and the results are all going to resemble animation. If I prompted for the portrait of the Queen of Atlantis in Midjourney, this is what we could expect to see. But if we add --Niji space 6 at the end of our prompt and hit enter, it's going to run that prompt through the Niji model, and these are the results we're going to get. You didn't have to say cartoon, anime, nothing like that in your prompt. You're simply going to get that in the results. Don't forget about Niji. Tip number 14. This is a very specific workflow, but it creates some of my favorite possible images from the bot. We're going to start by creating a photorealistic image inside of Midjourney. We'll start with something like a portrait of a steampunk queen style raw, a very realistic looking picture. We're then going to run the same or similar prompt in Niji, but we're going to include that original image as an image prompt. So we're going to click and then we're going to drag it down into the prompt box. Make sure there's a space between your link and the rest of your prompt. And then the results will be something like these. And this is honestly one of my favorite things to do. It's like the perfect blend of surreal reality and anime. Like, you can tell that these aren't real, but they're also not completely cartoon. I just love the look so much, and I highly recommend you try this as well. Like, look how cool that picture is. Where does the realism end and where does the cartoonification begin? Tip number 15, use negative prompting to exclude common themes from your generation. What I mean by this is that eventually you'll start to learn what Midjourney likes to create. And when you start to come across those same things over and over again, you might get sick of seeing them. In order to combat that, you can negative prompt those common things out of the generation. And this works great with color. Take a look at this example. We have a bouquet of roses. Now there are a couple different colors here, but you'll see the red rose come through. Traditionally, roses equals red, and that's what Midjourney knows. The same thing goes for a Ferrari. If you prompt for that car, you'll probably see it come up as red. It's just a connection Midjourney has with certain words. So what we can do is exclude that color from our generation. We would type a bouquet of roses, then --no space red, or any other color you want to exclude. Keep in mind, you don't have to use this just for color. You can use it for anything that keeps appearing in your Midjourney images without you asking for it. And look at these results. A bouquet of roses, no red, not a single shade of red in sight. Okay, maybe you could argue that right there is slightly reddish, but I think you get what I mean. Tip number 16. The remix feature can be used to create amazing consistent style across your generations. I used this example in the last video, but I want to show you again because of how well it worked. The prompt here isn't that important, it's quite long. Batman in the style of retro-futuristic cyberpunk comic book art, geometric patterns, splashes of color, 80s aesthetic vintage retro style poster. You get the point. What you want to do is go into your /settings and make sure remix mode is turned on. Now for this tip especially, we want to make sure we're using very strong, not subtle, very strong. When we click on it, a prompt box will appear and we'll have the chance to change our prompt. This is where we're going to want to change our subject. like Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, anything you want to see. And when we hit enter, Midjourney is going to remix this image with our new subject. And we'll get results like these. Look how gorgeous those are. Look how the style maintains itself. This is so much fun. And then even the Spider-Man, all 4 of them are amazing. I can't get enough of this. Even Gundam Mecha turned out pretty great. Tip number 17. Use the phrase street photography in a setting for a cool and varied grid. You could try Gotham City. Look what it does for Westeros. I didn't ask for these specific characters, but it brought them into the generation. I thought Atlantis turned out really well. Like, variety, black and white, underwater, and then this cool vintage postery look. It's a lot of fun. Hogwarts, maybe this had a little less variety, but I still love where this could go, especially if you wanted to add some chaos into that prompt. Tip number 18, another prompting tip, use the word candid for a more laid back look in your generations. What I mean by that is your grid can have its own level of variety just using the word candid. We have a dolphin just hanging out, a dolphin splashing. Honestly, seeing 4 different images like this is rather interesting considering we did not use a chaos value. Maybe you like this idea, candid photo of a dog walker. And it looks more like a photo in passing. Same thing here with a candid photo of a 1940s newspaper boy. Candid is really synonymous with natural, free-flowing, spur of the moment, if you will. Tip number 19, use textures as a character reference. I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about using color as a character reference, but please don't forget about textures. It works surprisingly well. Like here, a knight in granite armor, and I had previously just generated a texture of granite to use as the link. I like this one a lot. Or even something like this, a mossy wood texture used as a character reference. This was surprisingly hard to create without the reference, and I think this did a pretty good job with it. And I'll show you how to do this on the Midjourney website. Up here at the top, you're gonna write your prompt. Let's just try something like an arcade cabinet. We're gonna hit this little plus button to see all of the image prompts we've ever used. Let's go with the granite. We're gonna click on it, and it will pop up in the prompt box, but it will appear as an image prompt, and that's not what we want. We also don't want it as a style reference. We want to hover over the granite picture and make sure we click on character reference. I'm gonna make sure this is done in a portrait-sized aspect ratio, and then I'm gonna hit enter. And look how cool these are. A granite arcade cabinet without using granite in the prompt, just using the picture of granite as a character reference. Have fun with this. Tip number 20, make sure you set a suffix to save yourself time. On Discord, you can type in /prefer suffix to set a certain phrase or value to appear at the end of all your prompts. Make sure you click on new value, and then anything you type in new value will appear at the end of all of your prompts automatically. I use this for the aspect ratio 16:9 so that I don't have to type that out every time. All of my prompts will be generated in a wide aspect ratio. In /settings, you can see what you have set as your current suffix. You could also use this for different versions of Midjourney or maybe different stylized values. Anything that you don't want to have to write out every single time. Tip number 21, use Twyla Tharp in your prompt for really amazing movement. Twyla Tharp is actually a choreographer, and Midjourney recognizes this name and includes that type of movement in your generation. Like, look at Batman here, it's pretty wild. Now, I'm not saying it will always work perfectly, but rather than a static pose that you get most of the time, Twyla Tharp will bring in some sort of action flowy movement that can spice up your generations quite a bit. Like, look how cool this is. You don't have to specify anything else other than the name. And it's spelt a little interestingly, Twyla Tharp, Twyla Tharp. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And as a side note, you might want to specify a male subject, or there is a good chance it gets generated as a female. That's just what I've noticed from my experimentation. It even works decently with a subject like a husky. Tip number 22. I call this the triple, and this is easiest to do on the Midjourney website, so I'm going to show you how to do it there first. Basically, what we're going to do is choose 3 images, and we're going to use each one as an image prompt, a style reference, and a character reference. Here on the Midjourney Explore page, we're just gonna choose 3 random images. Let's go with this bird. We're gonna drag it up into the prompt box. Why don't we try Crash Bandicoot here? We'll drag that up. And then let's try this bleeding lip. I think that's a pretty cool picture. Now that the 3 pictures are up here, when you hover over them, you'll see the 3 options you have. If you were to click on style reference rather than image prompt, the image prompt would be deselected, but that's not what we want. So we're going to hold Shift on our keyboard and we're gonna select each of the options, and that will select all of them for us. We're gonna do the same thing for the Crash Bandicoot, and we're gonna do the same thing for the bird. Now, we can't hit enter just yet. We actually have to include some words in our prompt. But I recommend using something super simple like the word yes. That's all you need to include. It doesn't have to take over the generation in any way. You can use a single letter, anything that's just very short and simple. And we get something like these. They're a little scary, but I think this can be a lot of fun. Now let me show you quickly how to do this on Discord. We're going to upload our 3 images, again by clicking this little plus button and going to upload file. Once the 3 images appear here, you're going to hit enter. It's going to send those 3 images into the chat. Now we're going to type our short word like yes, and then we're going to begin to drag our links into the prompt box. Make sure you hit space so that the next link is not touching the first one. Now those 3 are set up as image prompts, but we also have to do this for character reference and style reference. Here's how we do that. We're gonna type --SREF into the prompt box, leave a space, and then you can click and drag each image back into the prompt box. But I'm actually just gonna go and copy each of the 3 links, and then I'm gonna paste them after SREF. Then I'm gonna hit space and type --CREF for character reference, hit space, and now I'm gonna paste those links again. That is the triple, using 3 pictures, each as an image prompt, a style reference, and a character reference. This is just a fun way to create some very unique images. Like, oh, these are sick. I love number 1 and number 4. That's unreal. Tip number 23, generate in thin aspect ratios for perfect bookmarks. I guess this is sort of a print on demand tip, but you could also use this for your own arts and crafts. You're gonna generate in a thin aspect ratio like 3:1 or 1:3. Both of them will work. It'll just change the orientation of the picture. Like here's what a 3:1 might look like, and all I'm typing in is Christmas theme scene. That's all you need to do. Obviously, you can get a lot more elaborate with your prompt. I'm just trying to show you the most simple version that will actually work for you. Halloween theme scene, AR 3:1. Outer space looks pretty cool. And then here's a Caribbean nautical theme. But that same idea in an inverted ratio like 1:3 will generate in a vertical look. Tip number 24. Your aspect ratio actually makes a huge difference. Feel free to experiment for each of your prompts. Like if you're trying to create a logo, you might want to try a square ratio. A futuristic logo for a recycling company, AR 1:1. If this was a thinner ratio, our logo itself would be squished. And if it was a wide ratio, the logo would stretch to fill out the canvas. That's probably not what you want. A square ratio is going to provide the most traditional return for your imagination. Like these ice cream company logos. So cool. Number 3 is unreal. I like number 2 a lot as well. Tip number 25, staying on ratios for a second. Character concepts benefit from something like a poster ratio. Anything vertical, 2:3 or even 4:5. Like a character concept art for an alien anthropomorphic dog. If this was a square ratio, our character would be squished a little. If this was a wide ratio, we might just have the top of our character in view. Changing it to a poster-sized vertical ratio will allow our entire character to be shown in the generation. You'll see that this doesn't always work, like maybe number 1 isn't what we wanted, but number 3 did a pretty good job. Same idea here for a broccoli cowboy. I love number 2, we get to see from head to toe perfectly, and number 4 is pretty cool as well. A robot monk, same idea, or even a zebra dressed like a librarian in 4:5. Anything that is taller than it is wide, anything where the second number is larger than the first will work for this idea. I actually really like this concept for a 1400 Spider-Man. I thought number 1 was cool. Or an ancient Greece Spider-Man. Number 4 is nice, but I'm a fan of all of them. Tip number 26. This is how to solve the problem of messed up hands. You might run into this a lot with Midjourney. Maybe not as often as other generators, but Midjourney still has its problems. And there are actually 2 ways to solve this specific issue. Take a look at this picture, look at this guy's hands. These are not looking very well. He needs help. The first thing I think you should try is very subtle. Not very strong, we just want a subtle tweak on this image. When you do this, Midjourney has a chance to course correct itself and fix whatever problems show up in the original. Like, take a look at these. All I clicked on was very subtle. And look at number 2 here, like that's perfect. That solved the problem. But it also changed the rest of the generation a little bit, subtly. If you don't want that, there is another option for you. Going back to your original and clicking on Vary Region, you can simply select the area around the hands and hit enter. Again, this will tell Midjourney what you want fixed and it will correct itself most of the time. Like these. Granted, they're not all good. Number 1 is decent. 2 and 3, not the greatest, but number 4 worked out pretty well. And that was done through Vary by Region, or InPainting as it's also known as. Tip number 27, use image weights to blend your images together more precisely. Now, normally when you're image prompting, you need to include words in your prompt or Midjourney will not run. That's why we might use the word yes or describe Kylo Ren holding a lightsaber. Alternatively, if we wanted to blend images using the /blend feature, we didn't have the opportunity to include any words. It just didn't work. So if we want the best of both worlds, we can use this next trick. Let's take these 2 pictures here, this black and white Alice in Wonderland inspired photo and this Star Wars inspired photo. Imagine, like, look how cool this picture looks. Doesn't that just expand your horizons? So if we were to blend these 2 images together, these are the results. Pretty cool. Each image is worth 50% of the total prompt. But what if we want one of the images to have a little more weight? We can add a colon, then a value after one of the links. In this case, we bumped the weight of the black and white photo to 2. So now that black and white photo is worth twice as much as the Star Wars photo. And these are the results. You can see Alice starting to take over the generation while just the lightsaber sneaks through from the Star Wars photo. But we can flip that here when we add colon 2 after the Star Wars photo. We still have a little bit of black and white, but Star Wars has taken over. Keep in mind though, if we're going to do this, we need to add the colon after the black and white photo. You need to separate your image links. You don't have to add a weight to it, but they need to be separated. I hope that makes sense. Tip number 28, create a larger seamless pattern using InPainting. This can be a lot of fun. It's a little advanced, but you might find it useful. So we're going to take this picture here, an isometric illustration of Where's Waldo amusement park scene, -- tile. That's important, okay? What that means is that this picture is a seamless pattern. Let me show you. Here's that picture in a seamless pattern checker. If we surrounded that picture with itself and we zoomed out, you would start to see a seamless pattern. Where does one picture start and the rest begin? Pretty cool. This is how you would create wallpaper or wrapping paper. But there is a way to create a larger seamless pattern than just one image. So what we're going to do is go into Vary by Region, and we're going to select everything except the outside edges. When we hit enter, we're going to see this as the result. Did you notice what happened? It's a little hard to see, but there are actually 4 individual images here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's right, this is a grid. But thanks to that trick, it's one giant seamless pattern. Now, when we take this into the checker, look what happens. There's a lot more going on. Isn't that cool? It's a lot of fun to use. It's a little specific, it's a little advanced, but I bet you'll find a great way to use this. Tip number 29, use GPT to help you write prompts. But let me tell you what I mean. First, I want you to give it a framework. Tell it that you're using an AI art generator and that you need help with the prompt. Ask the AI to divide the prompt into 3 different sections. Tell it to pick a random subject, we're talking animals, people, places, then tell it to place that subject in a random setting. But we're not done. You're then going to ask it to describe 2 small details in the scene. And then you're going to ask it to choose an art style for the picture to be generated in. These are pretty cool. I like number 4 a lot. Tip number 30, the most unique images you can make will come from the chaos parameter. Like here, we have a vibrant retro pop art picture of a rock and roll penguin, Chaos 30. This is definitely what I asked for, but this specific unique picture is coming from that chaos value. 30 might be a little high, just letting you know. You can find something like this, or even this, but lowering the value to Chaos 12, that is fine by me. That honestly might be what I suggest you do. Like, look how gorgeous this is. That comes from the Chaos parameter. Oh, even Chaos 20. I love this one. That's pretty cool too. Tip number 31. The most realistic images you can make in Midjourney will come from the Style Raw parameter mixed with a low stylized value. Like a photo of a panther in the Sahara, -- Style Raw, but also -- S0. Style and stylize are a little different. Style signifies a specific Midjourney model, in this case Style Raw, while stylize dictates the beauty and strictness that Midjourney follows your prompt. The default is 100 and we actually want to lower it for more realistic images. Like here, stylize 0 being the lowest you can go. A photo of a squirrel in winter, Style Raw, S20. Look how beautiful this looks. Beautiful in the sense that it looks so real. I like this one a lot too. That's at stylize 0. Same here. Look at this. Isn't that photo realistic? I think it's amazing. Or even something like this. Again, it's the panther in the desert, but it's such a unique angle and composition without having to specify that in the prompt. All I needed was Style Raw, S20. Oh, and this one, like, that's intense. That looks extremely real. And I like this little guy, back to the squirrel. Tip number 32. The most beautiful images you can make in Midjourney will come from a high stylized value. The default stylized value is 100, and that's what happens when you don't specify it in your prompt. You can lower it for more realistic images, and we want to raise it for more beautiful images. The range is from 0 to 1000. Here it is at S500. A pretty gorgeous picture of a swan and a kitty being best friends. But then look what happens when we double the stylized value to 1000. Look at this gorgeous rendition. It's a little dreamlike, and that's what's going to happen when you raise the stylized value. But this is how you're going to find the most beautiful pictures possible. Like, look how awesome that image is. Midjourney is so much fun. Tip number 33. The most fun images you can make will come from a combination of the stylize, chaos, and weird parameters. A super simple prompt, we have the Easter Bunny, but this time I included stylize 600, weird 200, and chaos 5. Look how interesting the result is. I love this picture. I think it's so unique, and I think it's a lot of fun. It's probably the best way to describe it. Same idea here. We want to use a lower weird value. The weird parameter is a range between 0 and 3000, with 0 being the default. We bumped it up here to 200. Chaos goes from 0 to 100, with 0 also being the default. Here we raised it just slightly to 5. Here's Superman, but this time weird is all the way up at 2400 and chaos got bumped to 14. I think this is pretty unique. I'd like to call it fun, but this sort of combination is going to get you definitely the most interesting type of pictures. Tip number 34. When Midjourney is not listening to you and you're having trouble with your prompt, use Style Raw. Like in this example, disco ball in the style of pop art. I didn't think this did a very good job at representing pop art. You can sort of see the inspiration, but it wasn't what I was looking for. However, when I added Style Raw at the end of the prompt, this is what I was presented with, and that is exactly what I was looking for. Use Style Raw when Midjourney isn't listening to you. This might happen with art styles or even artists. Honestly, any detail that isn't showing up in the default Midjourney, make sure you also try it in Style Raw. Tip number 35. Is Midjourney still not listening to you? This is when you should be using multi-prompting. Just add a little bit of spice to the creation. And one of the examples you might want to use this for is when you're trying for a specific art style, like an artist. Here we have Harry Potter, art by Don Mites. I love Don Mites, but I don't think this really captured his essence. So what we want to do is take our prompt and add 2 colons at the end of it. That is going to split it up and turn it into a multi-prompt. Now we can add the part of our prompt that wasn't coming through in the generation. In this case, art by Don Mites. We're going to add 2 more colons and then a small weight, just a little bit of spice. In this case, 0.7, to just re-emphasize what we were looking for. These are the results, and Don Mites' art style comes through the generation so much more clearly. Use multi-prompting to remind Midjourney what you were looking for. Tip number 36. Don't forget to try Style Raw when you're using style reference. We're going to take this picture here and we're going to use --SREF at the end of our prompt and then attach this image. And this is something we can expect to see when we also include Style Raw in that prompt. It's not going to change the generation completely, but Style Raw can really add something to style reference. I love this one. I think that's so cool. Like, look at that Batman. That's amazing. Same with this. I think that's pretty evocative. Even this one, that's got a lot of life to it. I like Spidey. Do you see how much fun this can be? Like, look at that. Tip number 37. Speaking of style reference, you should be trying a high chaos value with that parameter. We're going to be using that same style reference photo, and normally I would say avoid high chaos values. Don't go any higher than like 6. But when it comes to style reference, high chaos values work really, really well. Batman, style reference, that image with chaos 50. Look what we're getting. That's awesome. Maybe something like this Spider-Man or that Spider-Man. And then look at that Wonder Woman photo. Like, that's insane. I like that one a lot as well. The glowing eyes, that sword, just incredible. Tip number 38. Use Vary region to inpaint the entire picture. You might like the results. I have this image here of a Polaroid portrait of a nautical alien pirate, unsplash, stylized 300 Chaos 9. Cool picture, right? We're gonna go into Vary region and we're just gonna select the entire picture. We're gonna repaint the whole thing. I don't know for sure, but previously this had used a different algorithm to do the inpainting, and that's why the results might be a little different. And we could end up with these. I'm not saying this technique is totally practical or applicable in every situation, but you can try it out and maybe you'll like what you find. I like all of these actually. Tip number 39. Lock in a seed number to test changes of individual words. This is a pretty big tip, but I'll try to keep it simple. Like here, we're gonna use the prompt, an orange neon infused baseball hat. Rather than let Midjourney choose a random seed number, we're going to specify it ourselves. We're gonna write -- seed space, and then honestly, any number between 0 and 4 billion. Here I went with 85292. Completely random. But when we keep that seed number the same and tweak some words in our prompt, we can really see what those changes do to the generation. Like here, this is what a pink neon infused baseball hat would look like on that specific seed number. Here's what the word aurora would do to it, and here's what the word blue would do to it. Now that's just a very basic example with colors, but when you're trying to test words and you're not sure what they actually do in your prompt, like the difference between happy and ecstatic, lock in a seed number and test those changes. You'll see exactly what those individual words bring to the picture. Tip number 40, create a rough sketch of your image and then image prompt that into Midjourney. You could use Photoshop or something like Canva. Canva is really easy to use. It has a bunch of assets for you to try. So I put together this crudely created photo. Just some pictures of some dolphins, some flowers in the sky, and maybe some mountains. Maybe those are waves. I'm not really sure. But when I take that picture and use it as an image prompt, along with the description, something like flowers floating in the night sky as stars, dolphins swimming underneath, we can get something like these. Now, I think that's pretty cool, and it would have been a little more difficult to get this exact look had I not provided the rough copy. While you're doing this, you might want to try lowering the image weight. We're going to put --IW, and then we don't want it at 1. We definitely don't want it at 3. I would lower it to something like 0.5. That will make sure your rough copy just has a little bit of influence. And tip number 41, our last tip, use /info on a public Midjourney channel. Why would you want to do this? Well, you might have access to some super secret rooms. Just kidding, they're not that secret. They're available to you if you've made a certain amount of Midjourney images. So you would go to the Midjourney server and maybe you could pick a newcomer room. This is newbies 174. In the prompt box, all I'm gonna do is hit /info. This will bring up your information, but this will also sync your information with the Midjourney bot. Then you would see over here on the left, if you've made over a certain amount of images, these new clubs will open up. Here is the 10,000 club and the 25,000 club. But I think there's also 1,000, 2,500, 5,000. It's just a place to talk with like-minded people. Here's all the people who have made over 25,000 images, and this is their chat room. So there is 41 Midjourney tips explained a little more precisely. I hope I helped you out. If you want a more structured guide through the entire bot, make sure to check out my beginner course in the description below. I hope you're doing well, take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.